IVM.
Hey everybody, we'd like to welcome a new sponsor, Storytel. Storytel is an audiobook streaming services for mobile and tablets. If you haven't heard audiobooks before and you're a podcast listener, audiobooks are probably right up your alley. You can enjoy your favorite titles when you travel, exercise, or cook. There are great books over here, like the Percy Jackson series is available. If you want like some new fantasy, or if you want to go for something old school or classic, you can get either Bram Stoker's Dracula, or you could get Edgar Rice Burroughs' John Carter series. Download Storytel today from the App or Play Store and enjoy a free 14-day trial. That's Storytel, Storytel, Storytel from the App Store or Play Store. Download it today.
You're listening to TFG Football.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to a brand new episode on a Monday morning. The Monday morning is a fantastic day to be here. What a great start to this week, and I am smiling. I have a very special guest with me on this TFG Indian Football podcast. It's an honor to welcome Coach Floyd. He is the head coach of the AIFF Elite Academy, and also the India Under 19 national team, and also the assistant to the Indian Arrows team in the I-League. Welcome, Coach Floyd Pinto. What a great honor for me to welcome you.
Thank you so much, Kevin.
Yeah, so also joining us is Chiranjit via phone call. Chiranjit, it feels great to be back on another episode, and this is going to be a cracker.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have a coach here. The podcast has been off for a couple of weeks since we moved to a weekly format. Of course, we're doing the TFG tackles as well. So yeah, I'm just hoping to learn a lot in this episode. Actually, it's a rare honor for us to have a coach of such caliber in the studio. Actually.
Yeah.
I'm flattered already.
Hopefully, great things for me to learn as well. Small coach to learn from a very big coach. Again, it's an absolute honor to have you with us, Coach Floyd. For today, for the listeners, we will be talking something about Coach Floyd's background, about some history, how he got into the coaching role, what is he doing currently, and also we'll get him talk about some opinion of his on some hot topics of the Indian football. So let's get going. Coach Floyd, would you guide us how you've landed into the coaching role? Was it planned? Was it something that you wanted to, or was it just something that came along and you grabbed it?
Well, first of all, I would like to say that it wasn't planned at all point of time. Every kid wants to play a sport professionally, and right from a very young age, I was basically a very good athlete. So I was good at all sports. I played for my school, I played for my college, and at some point of time, you realize that that passion for sport, that passion for football specifically, wasn't just lying down. It was always getting back at do something in football. I want to do something in football. And gradually, when I was in school, it's like with every Indian parent, it's like when you're in the 10th grade, sports stops, and concentrate on your exams, try to get 85% plus. As of now, it would be a failure, but get that kind of marks and get into a good college. You either do a medical or you do engineering. So that was the pathway for me. So 10th standard, no football, no sport, got a good percentage, got into St. Xavier's College. St. Xavier's College as well, played football, but it was more relaxed. It was a much better environment than in school. But the turning point in my career came when I joined Don Bosco Engineering College. Because it was in the second year of engineering that I decided that, that's it. Engineering and computers.
So then 18 years of your life, you're still following every Indian boy's dream.
Yeah.
Just follow whatever your parents have been telling you.
Exactly. But I was always into sport, and I'm the passion that I share for football specifically is really big. And I live, breathe, eat, sleep football, whatever. So fortunately, Don Bosco Engineering College had one of the better engineering college teams. So we had products from Mahindra, from Air India, from various other academies who ended up in Don Bosco Engineering College, ironically. And it is based in an area in Kalina, next to Kalina, where you have the budding footballers, hockey players coming from. So I started playing football back again in Don Bosco Engineering College, and that's what reignited that passion and that desire to do something in football. And to be honest, in the second year of engineering, I decided that's it. Now I just want to research as to how I can get back into football, because playing football professionally was out long ago. Because in this day and age, you need to have that. You need to nurture your talent. You need to have the guidance as far as nutrition, as far as good training methods, as far as recovery, as far as injury management. A lot of these kind of...
So was it that you did not have enough access, or you do not have enough...
It wasn't that enough access. There wasn't an opportunity to do so. Because the future of a kid... to fulfill his passion as far as playing a sport in this country depends largely on the parents. So they weren't that keen on me, or they weren't that confident in me making it as a professional. Or they did, for example, as a lot of parents in Indian football today or in Indian sport today, they don't trust a sport can be a career, a professional choice for any kid or any sports person or sportswoman in the Indian culture, you could say. So the more I grew up, the more independent my thought process started becoming. And what was good about Don Bosco, and you see of any Don Bosco institution out here, and you may know about it, is they always encourage sport. They'll always have a football ground to themselves, a hockey field to themselves, and you'll see boys enrolled in sports sections. So sport was always embedded in the Don Bosco culture, which continued in the engineering college. I was fortunate to have a good administrator, Father Adolf Furtado, and he's been my mentor ever since then. So he was the one I approached first. I said, Father, I want to talk to you, and this is my plan. I intend to get into football post-engineering, and I really want to take it up as a passion, be it management or be it coaching, whatever. I want to try that out. So, and the good thing about Father Adolf was he never pushed you away from your dreams or your passion. He always tried to rationalize as to your thinking. So he was like, okay, what do you plan on doing? If you want to become a football coach, you want to go into management, what do you plan on doing? And I had no answer at that point of time, because I was just too eager to just say I want to do football. And so he said, you think about it, research on management, research on coaching, and get back to me, and then we'll see how to take it forward. So at that point of time, and till now, I'm a big English Premier League fan, a big Liverpool fan. And at that point of time, in the English Premier League, you say a manager, you'll never say a coach. So my mind was always hell-bent on being a manager at that. And my thinking of a manager was a head coach of a football team, not a manager per se, as we have right now in different leagues. So I did a lot of research as far as courses in England are concerned, as far as sports management, as far as sports coaching. So I decided I'll apply for 5 universities in England. So there were Leeds Metropolitan University, the Manchester Metropolitan University, Liverpool John Moores, Loughborough University, and one more. And I said, if I get through, let us see if I get through these universities, maybe I take a chance and get there. And this happened throughout the 3rd and 4th year of engineering. And I kept having a conversation with Father Adolf as to how to go forward. So he said, you apply, we'll give the recommendations, and let's see how it goes forward. And to my good luck, I got accepted in all five. But as I was in between the registration process and the acceptance, there was also a doubt as to whether this would lead me into coaching. Because I then realized that the perception of management and coaching were two different things. You go into management, you may be getting into sports management, and I wanted to be a coach. I wanted to work hands-on with players, hands-on with teams, and on the ground, not sit in front of a computer desk, which I would be doing as an engineering college student. So I got accepted in all 5, but then the burden of the financial burden that it would put on me, I didn't want to let my mom go through that process again, because if I told her the fact that I did engineering, she was very happy with it. And if I told her I'm leaving engineering and I want to go to UK to do football, I think she would have got a heart attack or something. So I said, let that go aside. And then I started focusing on coaching licenses. So I started researching as far as, again, I was never much into Indian football and the licenses happening in India. I was always like, okay, the UEFA license, how do I get the UEFA B? How do I get the UEFA A? So then I got to know about the FA level 1, the FA level 2. Then you get into the UEFA B, UEFA A, UEFA Pro. So I said, okay, this is a good path for me to go about. And then when I approached Father Adolf, he said, okay, I think he had accepted the fact that this guy is going to do something in football and he's not going to do anything else. So he got me in touch with Mr. Adib Kenkre, who's the founder of Kenkre Football Club, and Mr. Joshua Lewis, who is the CEO of Kenkre Football Club. So what he told me was, and at that point of time I had just accepted an offer from ICICI Lombard to work on a 15-month basis as a database analyst, because databases was one of the topics in engineering that excited me a little bit, and I had a tendency towards liking that subject. So he said, see, you accepted this. Why don't you work for these 15 months and side by side on weekends you coach with Kenkre Football Academy and see how it goes. So at the end of 15 months, we take a call. Maybe Kenkre Football Club will give you feedback on what your future could be, and we can take it from there. So that's what I did for 15 months post-engineering. Monday to Friday was working, sitting on a desktop.
So then you didn't leave your studies
No. There was no chance that I would.
That's absolutely critical to understand for all the youngsters who might be listening to this podcast and maybe following the same pathway that you've led through and seen success. So I think it's very important to know that studies, what come what may, needs to be completed.
Yeah, because if I go to for a person like me who hasn't played football to the highest level, if I go to someone and say I want to coach, and they'll say, who are you? Where have you played? So at that point of time, when you say, okay, I'm now an A licensed coach and an engineer, so then the eyes light up a little bit. Okay, an engineer as well as a football coach. So studies to a certain extent gives you that little level of acceptance with the people in the fraternity to say, okay, this guy may be adding to football something different as compared to what a normal player turned coach would do. So 15 months went in, Monday to Fridays, working in front of a desktop. Fortunately, I had a very good senior who told me that, see, Floyd, and I told him, I'm here just for 15 months and I'm going to get out from here and work into football. He's saying, why do you want to go into football? You've just got into a good company. I said, and he was a very open-minded guy. So he said, okay, see, you do this. You come in half an hour before I come in. These are the checks you need to do. Once I come in, I take over. You can do whatever you want. So he said, okay. I said, okay, that's fine. So I followed him. And as soon as he used to come in, I used to start researching on football topics, coaching topics, the modern trends into football. So what would I do in the weekend? How would I coach these boys? A lot of these kind of things, which helped me a lot. And he was very supportive. So on Saturdays and Sundays, I started coaching at Shivaji Park, which was close to my place in Dadar. And I started off with a group of 5 to 6 year olds. Okay. And I must say, till date, that has been the best experience of my life. The coaching those small kids running around here and there was a big challenge. And
I can relate to that.
yeah, just to get these boys interested in you as a coach and just to get them to listen to you as a coach was the first biggest challenge that I faced. And I did pretty well. I enjoyed it, and the boys related to me really well, and that took off from there. So 15 months in, I got a feedback from Mr. Adib Kenkre. I got a feedback from Joshua that there is a future for you as a coach, and we'd be ready to take you in a much more in the professional setup or semi-professional setup at that point of time, because Kinkre was a second division I-League club. Yeah. So I was like, okay, so let's do this. So we sat together, Mr. Adib Kinkre, Mr. Joshua Lewis, Father Dolph, myself, and we said, okay, this is what I'm going to do now. And that's how it started. So that was my first steps into coaching, and where it started, all kicked off.
Yeah, I think this is really inspirational for everybody who's might be thinking two times about should I be continuing with my studies. When you have a dual interest with your studies, it's very critical to understand that although we moved ahead from a time where sports was considered as a hobby to making it a profession, I think you can be again a good advocate of that yes, it's much more better than from what you at your time to vouch for somebody who can go ahead and make a professional career into sports. And just a glance of how things have changed from your time to right now. Football has been brought up in a way that everybody can look forward and get access to whatever things.
Yes.
Now, even coaching, if you can understand that there are a lot more coaching facilities available.
It's a much better time to be a football coach and a football player at this point of time. Even a budding football player or a budding football coach, you have access to licenses right now. You have access to a lot of academies. You have access to a lot of clubs that are looking for talented players. So, all you need is that passion to play, that passion to work hard. And I think if you have these two, the talent will be nurtured in time.
Yeah. Just coming to one point where from moving from a time where things were very hazy to things being clear right now, what was the big factor that you felt was lacking earlier? Maybe we can put infrastructure at one point there. Do you think have we moved a little closer to being accessible to good infrastructure and good facilities right now?
There's a big change as far as you would say the FIFA World Cup that recently happened. It helped a lot in developing an already budding sporting culture in India. So that sporting culture, if it is nurtured on a regular basis, I think that would provide a bigger platform for the sport to grow in India. As far as infrastructure is concerned, with the World Cup happening and now with the ISL clubs having their own stadiums per se, we have a lot of fields that are accessible to players and to teams to provide a very good training environment. Because like I said, 5 to 6 year old training at Shivaji Park is not an ideal playing ground for those boys. Imagine a goalkeeper training at Shivaji Park, he would never come the next day. So partly having good grounds to train on and having good facilities to train on is improving with time. And I think the FIFA World Cup has helped big time.
Yeah, on the topic of the World Cup, I think Chiranjit, we can I can get you in over here. We did see some of the countries getting along tutors midway through the tournament, having them complete the academics, even when the biggest stage of football was on. How is that? How would you get that into a World Cup, which matters to you the most, and even having academics going along simultaneously?
Yeah, well, I haven't really had that experience. I used to play football for school and college, but I didn't really think I would make it, so never really put that much effort behind it. I was pretty much one of the laziest players out there. So yeah, studies were always going to be the priority. So I don't really connect with that experience, but I understand how difficult it might be if you're putting in like 3-4 hours of training every day and you're expected to study after that for board exams or something like that. And it has to be something that really gnaws at players who are going through that experience, because you only have, 15, 16-year-olds, seriously, they can't really be expected to excel at everything at the same time, and there's limited time, so you put in some time in this, it hampers the other thing. So I think something that was going on a couple of years ago, there was that campaign to include sports as a curriculum, so that you can get credits or numbers for the sport you're pursuing. So that may bridge that a little bit, but I don't think it does a full job at it. Or you can see some other countries like China or UK which already incorporate that priority that a kid is growing up to be a player, has possibilities as a professional player. So maybe the education has to take that into account, and the assignments and exam schedules be adjusted to that. I really don't know if that can work in an Indian system, and I would really like to know what coach thinks of this.
Yeah, when I was coaching at Kenkre Football Club, Mr. Adib Kenkre had this tagline which attached to Kenkre Football Club was that you play the beautiful game beautifully. And to play the beautiful game beautifully, your mind needs to work before your feet. And if you are intelligent off the field, it reflects directly on the field as far as your game intelligence is concerned. And don't get me wrong, it's not that if you get 90% you're going to be a good footballer. It's just triggering that thought process in your head. You need to be constantly thinking in the game. There are so many decisions, like for example, if a player is receiving the ball, there are so many decisions he needs to take. Where do I receive the ball? Where do I turn? Who do I pass to? What do I do with it? So, basically, even with the AIFF Academy, when we had boys coming in, a lot of boys were in the distant education section. So they used to be attached to their boards and give their exams whenever the time came. But very few of them could even speak in English. So basically having simple English, conversation in English classes with them, helped a lot as far as helping the player speak his mind out, helping the player get his thought process out. So for a player coming from South, or for a player coming from Kolkata or Kerala, some place like that, they weren't able to express themselves verbally as much as they could do with their feet on the ground. So just a simple twist as far as getting them into conversational English classes helped a lot, because that encouraged these boys to be much more open on the field, much more confident on the field, and basic words like pass, or basic words like turn or release, these kind of basic words help build on their performance. So, and as far as in Bombay is concerned, you didn't have that problem, because these boys were coming from international board schools and coming from a good background, getting good nutrition at home, getting good facilities as far as doctors is concerned. The only thing about them was to get them to think the way you wanted them to think on the ground. So education does play a big role, and it, like abroad, even when I was in the UK, I had gone for my license out there. So there were boys who had come in for the training sessions like we have in the coaching courses. So when they were with us on the ground, they had to spend the entire day there. So we had morning sessions and we had sessions in the evening. So they had sessions with us in the morning. They had a lunch break. They had an hour to themselves. And then before the evening session, they had tutors coming in. Okay. So, and it's not like a burden for you that you have to get 90%, you have to get 80%. It's just that in that 1 hour, you devote your time towards the subjects that you have taken up in school. So in that hour, if you're just working with a tutor on your math or on your English, that was fine with them. It was not a burden. So it was just triggering them to think, okay, I need to focus on my studies. If my grade drops, I may not get into that academy or not get into that soccer school.
Yeah. So I think what we can take out from this is, although studies might not be your priority, but it has to be given some importance. You cannot be neglecting your academics. Coming to a new topic, I think this interests me a lot. To the methods of coaching, Coach Floyd, what is your style of coaching? How have over the years have you built yourself? Does coaching licenses fulfill your plan to create a perfect session of coaching, or have you learned something?
As far as coaching licenses are concerned, when I joined Kenkre, I waited a long time for my license. So I went to the UK to get my license done. I was so frustrated waiting for a coaching license in India. I said, might as well go to the UK.
This was the AFC C license you're talking about?
Yeah, the C license. It wasn't happening at all, and I was really concerned because one thing that I had decided at that point of time, and which was put into my head by Mr. Kenkre and Joshua, is that if you don't have your licenses, you will not be taken seriously as a coach. And if you don't have your licenses, you will not be able to progress up the ladder as far as not just coaching kids, but as far as coaching youth and as far as coaching the second division I-League team, which was the Kenkre elite team at that point of time. So I went to the UK, I did my FA level 1, I did my FA level 2 back to back out there, and I thought that I could come back and equate it to a C license, but then that didn't happen as well. So the AFC at that point of time, or the AFF, weren't open enough to equate that license to a C license. So I waited again, and fortunately the next year there was a C license in Bombay, and I rushed towards that and I did my C license. So that was in 2010, I think. From 2010 to 2014, there wasn't any B license. I was searching for a B license course. I applied for one, didn't get through. Then I went all the way to Mizoram to do my B license. I said I need to do it at any point. So in 2014, I went to Mizoram under Scott O'Donnell and I completed my B license out there. And fortunately for me, I was so aggressive that I applied for every successive A license that came in. And there was an A license in Goa the very next year. So usually you're supposed to wait for a year before doing your A license. But 6 months after doing my B license, I got accepted into the A license course. So I was really happy. And that was under Mr. Vincent Subramaniam and Scott O'Donnell. So I cleared that at the first attempt as well.
So I believe you were one of the youngest coaches at that time to clear the A license.
Yeah, there have been, I think, coaches younger than me. But one of the youngest in the batch, of course, for that. So pursuing my licenses was one of my major, priorities at that point of time. Because I know if I say now I'm an A licensed coach, I'll be taken seriously or I'll be listened to. The second thing, as far as coaching the coaching licenses are concerned, it's a big difference from the AFC and the UEFA way of doing things. And in England, when they have these licenses, there is very little emphasis on theory. There is more emphasis on the practical aspect of the game, and they constantly keep you on your toes as far as the UEFA license is concerned. So I not only did my FA level 1 and 2, as I was waiting for my B license, I went for the UEFA international license, because at that point of time, I told you, English Premier League crazy, I wanted to do my licenses, and that gave you a shortcut towards the UEFA A, because that's what it said. Only now I would recommend that none of the Asian coaches do that, or might as well go for the proper UEFA B, because it's a waste of time and it's maybe a money spinning thing. But that license actually taught me how to think as a coach, and maybe I matured as a coach when I went for that licensing course. One of the aspects in that licensing course was, it was always, as far as UEFA B is concerned, it was always 11 versus 11. So there were 2 teams of 11 versus 11 and all the coaches are on the touchline. So the instructor just stands there and he's like, stop. So the game stops. Floyd, get in, coach. Blue team. Now you don't know what to coach. You don't know what's in that instructor's head. Just thrown into a situation. And my side was given the defending aspect. The other team was given the attacking aspect. So, and I was one of the only coaches where I went in and I just looked around and looked at the shape, looked at where the ball was, and very reluctantly I said, coach, I don't think there's anything to coach. So everything is okay. He said, are you sure? Yes. Okay, come out. And so it was like that. You're just put on the spot. Unfortunately, there was nothing to coach. So I was safe at that point of time. So it kind of keeps you on your toes, keeps you thinking. And they want to put you get you out of that comfort zone. What the difference? What I see in the AFC licenses is that there's a lot of emphasis on the theory as well, and the practical sessions. There could be a little more openness to it, a little more realism to it, and which right now, if you see Mr. Savio Madera and Richard Hood are revolutionizing the coaching process. So to say. So it's moving in a much better direction. I've heard the similar things happening when in the A license when Mr. Scott and Rob Ban held it at Navi Mumbai. So one of the coaches, Mr. Yusuf Ansari, who's the goalkeeping coach with Indian Arrows, he said one day we were just walking towards the ground after having a theory session, and at the spur of the moment Rob Ban says, okay, Yusuf, you're going to work on the back four. Just like that. So it's things like that makes you keeps you on your toes, gets you out of that comfort zone, and those are the kind of things we need from coaching courses. Trying to learn something new rather than following the same. So at Kinkre, like I said, play the beautiful game beautifully. So it was always the coaching was always, how can I get my players to play the beautiful game beautifully, or to play in a nice way, which people would say, okay, yeah, good, they look so comfortable on the ball. So I used to research a lot about different coaches, different styles, different formations, different shapes. But another thing what Mr. Adib Kinkre told me is that you may research, you may have all the knowledge in the world, but if you are not, as a coach, if you are not able to simplify that knowledge and put it across to your player, he will never be able to play the way you want him to play. So that was the challenge that I took forth. I had a lot of information with me, but what information should I put across to which kid was the challenge, to get them to play that kind of football. So I was coaching 5 to 6 year olds, 8 year olds. I was coaching the under 17, the under 19s, and I was coaching the second division I-League team as well. So what session suits which team was the challenge for me at that point of time. And right through to the AIFF academies as well. The AIFF academies further solidified my methodology of playing the game beautifully, because AIFF insisted on build-ups from the back. Which was something that helps you dominate possession. AIFF insisted on pressing, which is something that, so you don't have the ball, get the ball back quickly as soon as possible. So we were given the freedom to express ourselves as a coach in the build-up. So every coach had a different style. We were given the freedom to express ourselves as far as pressing. So every coach had a different style of pressing. So these kind of, at every stage, I kind of added a little bit more to how I wanted a team to play. And it's happening right now as well. Yeah. So you keep learning.
Yeah. On the same lines, one question I want to ask you is, how has technology helped in coaching?
Oh, huge. I feel at this point of time, if you're not using technology, you're losing out as a coach, because a lot of coaches feel that technology right now is a means by which someone can point out flaws in your coaching system. But I would think the opposite. Technology, as far as maybe the GPS or even sports science is a technology in its own aspect, is there for the coach to guide the coach in the right direction. So I feel a coach should have enough knowledge about all these. You cannot be a master of sports science, a master of another technology as well as coaching. Yeah, the head coach should always have the final say in all these things. But sports science, GPS technology is there to help you, to guide you in order to improve your training sessions, in order to periodize your training sessions in such a way that the players are conditioned in the right sense. That is why, fortunately for me, Danny, the national team sports scientist, is based in Goa. So I have regular conversations with him. I have questions with him even when he was associated with the under-19 team earlier. So I'm getting to know a lot about how the national team works as far as using the GPS is concerned, using sports science is concerned. And it's a very big aspect of football right now, which can only help coach further improve his coaching sessions. It can only help a team further improve their performance on the pitch.
I think that was some great insights into coaching and a lot of technicalities for the first time, at least for me, to know the nitty-gritties of the workings of the AFF and so many things to learn from. So that was the first half of the show. And in the second half, be prepared to listen to some opinions from various topics, the hot topics, especially in Indian football. I'll be back after the break.
Hi, I'm Amit Verma, the host of the weekly podcast The Seen and the Unseen. In my show, I examine the seen effects and the unintended consequences of public policy and private action. I show how policies meant to help the poor often end up hurting the poor. I've done episodes so far on demonetization, GST, surgical strikes, immigration and MRP. And I will continue my forensic assault on the truth in the weeks to come.
Catch the show every Monday on the IVM Podcast app or any other podcasting app that you prefer. Or visit seenunseen.in for all the latest updates.
Alright, welcome back guys after the break, and as we promised, we'll be talking about Indian football current scene and what is all about the Arrows team that just finished this season, and they'll be heading into the qualifiers of the Super Cup. Yes, so Coach Floyd back, welcome back after the break. So the Arrows, everybody's eyes were on the under-17 team, obviously during the World Cup, prior to the World Cup, and now after the World Cup as well. So the Pailan Arrows was revived as a project, and they were named the Indian Arrows, and they were put into the I-League. Now, first question to you. The under-17 team, average age 16-17, playing against much physically bigger and almost twice the ages. So what was the idea behind the revival of the Indian Arrows?
Well, basically, if you whenever we go for the AFC competitions and we play against the likes of Iran, Saudi Arabia, the players playing at the under-19 level out there already have experience of playing in their national league. If some of them may not get the game time, but they are playing and training with professional players. So the idea for the Indian Arrows playing in the I-League was to give these boys as much game time as possible, keeping them together as a group. And I think if we look at the overall game time achieved by the players playing in the Indian Arrows and players of a similar age group in various clubs, you could see there's a marked difference in the amount of game time that someone has achieved. And that can only help a player develop in his potential or into a professional footballer as well.
Yeah. So Chiranjit, I would like to get you in at this point of time when we've done with the World Cup, and this is looking forward to a moment where preparedness to the next AFC competition. Now, do you think this team looks much more prepared and heading into a proper experience, playing with senior players, playing into a league, not really a knockout tournament? This is more than practice matches. Do you feel this is much more required going forward for all teams?
Well, it was really required to see Aniket, Rahim. We had Wang Jam, everybody else, who had put in the effort in the Under-17 World Cup. They had this huge build-up going into that competition. Of course, should have won that one game, got unlucky. But see, we need to see them playing against bigger opponents because that's what we do, right? I mean, Stephen Constantine also used to talk about it. We are playing bigger and fitter opponents, so we need players who know how to punch up. And Arrows started off, everybody was a little bit anxious to see how these things would play out. But the 4 victories they amassed, and especially that game against Churchill Brothers where they won, these games were not, it were the old Phelan Arrows that we used to see. Things would sometimes I don't know how to exactly express it, but we would see sometimes the big teams would take it slow against the Arrows, and not play it that physically. But this time it was Churchill Brothers also playing for survival. It was a physical game, and the Arrows players never backed down. And that was one of the revelatory sides of this team, that they could match up to players who were like 10 kilos heavier and 4 to 5 inches taller, or even bigger than that. They could match up to them physically. And I would really like to know how coach you and Mr. Mato you approached this aspect of the game when suddenly you're putting them up against the biggest clubs in the country in the top division.
Yeah, two things I would like to say. First, about the boys. These boys have been together for almost 4 to 5 years, right from when they were in the AFF Academy in Goa, right through to all the exposure trips, and then playing the World Cup. And these boys, one thing that I've noticed, having not been associated with them till the Indian Arrows project, I wasn't associated with them. So one thing I saw was, these boys are one of the most mentally toughest boys that I've seen. Nothing phases them. You bring any team in front of them, whether it be a age group team or whether it be a senior team, whether it be foreign players or local players, these guys just say bring it on, let's do this. So that attitude really helped us in the I League. So no matter whether it was a loss, whether it was a win, obviously helped, a draw, whether it was an away match, whether it was traveling to and forth, these boys just showed up game after game, because they had that hunger in themselves, we want game time, we want to prove ourselves against the professional players, against foreigners. And going back to the second one is Coach Matos, as a coach, if you see, you can generalize most of the Portuguese coaches. They have a lot of emphasis on organization, on being organized as a team, giving as less space as possible for the opposition to play. And when we get the ball, we try to hit on the counter, or we try to keep the ball and catch the opposition off guard. And where these two kind of philosophies blended really well was that the fitness levels of these boys was so high that we knew that even if it was, like, for example, the Churchill Brothers game, in the 93rd minute, you see players like Abhijit, Boris, Deepak Tangri sprinting up the pitch to score a goal. Was really enlightening to see, because two philosophies. One is the Portuguese philosophy of being organized in your defensive half, being organized as a group, and then countering with speed. blended beautifully, and when it came together in those games, it looked really beautiful.
Yeah, I think that the point that Coach Floyd is making was very well highlighted in the game against Mohan Bagan when I think Captain Amarjeet was sent off.
Yeah.
And the game that they played in the second half, it's almost 25 minutes with a man down against Mohan Bagan in their home ground. And that was something that that really showed the character of the team, mentally, physically. I think tactically also it played a very well. It showed, and that's what got them developed into every game that they played. That really culminated into the Churchill brothers.
Yeah.
The energy that they showed at the 90th minute of the game, I think it was the same as the first minute of the game. And you can't beat a team that's running.
Yeah.
Even Coach Constantine talked about Nepal. They being the shorter version of so many other good teams. They're high on energy. It's difficult to beat. That's so high on energy even in the second of the game. I think even the pressing part we've seen them do so well. Even in the World Cup that they it was applied, and so many times we were able to win the ball back. It's just that the final third. When they get to it, I think that is where somewhere we can be a little better than that. But then again, when you measure progress, it's how you do better from the last time. And this season for Arrows has been outstanding. Even the victories that in the style they have come from must have been very nice to watch, and it's a huge compliment to see the under-17 team do so well even after such a long time. And I would believe it was a short time for them to come together and be prepared for the World Cup. But then right now they are looking much more lethal than what they were.
And the beauty of these boys is that you ask them, are you happy with your I-League campaign? They'll say obviously not. We finished last. They'll actually tell it to you straight on your face, we finished last, we feel we can do much better, and given the opportunity again, I think you'll see a much more different Arrows outfit, a much more confident outfit, and the results and the performances will be much better the next time around. That is the good thing about these boys. They are not satisfied with this result, they are not satisfied with this campaign, they want to do much better given the chance next time around.
Yeah, on the same lines, I-League, Coach Floyd, how interesting has the league got? We are into the last match day, and we don't know who's going to take the cup.
Initially, the fairy tale was Minerva going to win the league.
Yeah.
I think now, and Chiranjit will be very happy, the fairy tale would be if Mohan Bagan wins the league. There
is no chance. Coach, there is absolutely no. Just this is just for the listeners as well. There is zero chance for Mohan Bagan to win the league, because even if they win the last match, and they will be at 33 points, and if Minerva draw, they win the league. If Neroka win, somebody has to get some points, right? In the last game, Minerva Punjab versus Neroka. So if it's a draw, Minerva Punjab will go to 33 and they will be ahead in head-to-head.
Head-to-head,
And if Neroka win, they win the league as well. If Minerva win, obviously they win the league. East Bengal are in a position where if they win the last two matches, they are ahead of Minerva Punjab in head-to-head, so they win the league. So it's Minerva, Neroka and East Bengal who have the chance. Mohan Bagan can at best finish wish for a second finish.
Is this Chiranjit talking, or is it somebody else in Chiranjit's voice? I can hardly believe.
It's heartbreaking for me as well, and I'm just wondering if we had somehow beat Indian Arrows at home, we would be having a very different conversation right now.
All right. Talking about the way ahead, Coach Floyd, how do you see this Arrows team going forward? What are the plans basically? How do you plan to take them ahead?
In fact, we are still about to discuss. We are waiting for the Super Cup to get done with. So we regroup back on the 8th of March. Prepare for the Super Cup. Take one game at a time. And then see what happens, because the one thing that these boys need right now is a little bit of a break. They need a break to get back to their private lives. They need to just think away from football a little bit, and after that we regroup and with Abhishek Yadav, who's the national team's director, with the head coach Matos. We discuss and see what's the future plan for them. Because as of now, there's no concrete plan in place, but hopefully we could play the I-League next year and have a few exposure trips to get these guys back in sync.
On that topic,
Coach, I just want to take you back to the point you made, Coach, a little while ago about the players being together for 3-4 years, but we have seen some players sort of going on a different direction. Like Komal joined ATK later, and Dheeraj left the Arrows side midway through the season and tried his hand abroad. How do you see this? Is it better for these players to stick together in Arrows, or should they go to other teams where they get to practice with senior players and experience something else, or even since they have had a World Cup exposure, they should even consider a stint abroad. What's your take on this different options?
Yeah, whatever be the option, whether it is India or abroad, the advice that I would give to any player is that you go wherever you can get game time. If you're not getting game time, that would seriously hamper your chances of development. The second thing, for example, Komal going to ATK. Okay, he made the decision that he wanted to go to ATK and he got a few minutes on the pitch as well. But the advantage of being in an ISL team is that he's training with foreigners, he's training with professionals. He has good facilities to train with, not only as far as the playing ground is concerned, the nutrition, the injury management, sports science, strength and conditioning. And that if you're not getting game time, you should at least have that kind of environment around you which can help you develop as a player. So maybe next season, if he steps up and proves himself, you never know. These boys, Komal can make it into the first team. I'll give you the example of Jerry and the Anirudh Thapa batch, the 98 group batch. Jerry was with us, went to FC Mets, trained out there, came back. Fortunately, he got a chance to play in the Chennai team. Made a mistake in the first match, gave away the penalty. But since then, he's never looked back. He's cemented that place as left back in the Chennai team. He's broken into the AFC Under 23, the Indian national team. So all it requires is a chance. So if a player like Komal or Dheeraj or Shubham, any other player like that who's not in the World Cup squad and are on the fringes of an ISL team or an I-League team, they just need that one opportunity. But till then, if they have that environment around them to succeed, you never know what can happen.
Yeah, Coach, one of the things that has actually a bit stood out is how prolific they have been on the attack. I mean, the highest Indian scorer in I-League is Abhijit Sarkar with 4 goals. And I think he's the only, Singham Singh is also there. And a player from Arrows is the highest scoring Indian in an I-League. Did you see this coming, and was there any particular work done on the attacking side of Arrows going into the I
wasn't aware of that fact as well, that Abhijit is the highest goal scorer. But it goes to show, most of the teams, you have the position as the centre forward or the attacking midfielder, you have foreigners out there. So there is very little scope of an Indian guy getting into the position of the highest goal scorer. What was the deal with Abhijit is that he knows how to be. The compliment that I would give him is he's not an out and out number 9, but he is always at the right place at the right time inside the box. Whether it be if you've noticed in the World Cup, a few of the best chances I think fell to Abhijit. And even in the I-League, he scored 4 goals. But I think if he would have converted all his chances, he should have at least had 8 goals by now. So he's always in the right place at the right time. So if that's what we've been hoping, and he's got the chance to play at Indian Arrows. He's got a chance. He may not start every game, but whenever he's fit, he always comes on as a substitute when the game's opened up a bit. And that has helped him get these goals.
Just one opinion I'd like to take from you. Coach Floyd. Now we've seen the under-17 team go elaborately for exposure trips abroad, and at the end, just before the actual World Cup, we saw them play domestic matches. Now, just a comparison. How has the domestic matches, been of help for the team? Yes, exposure trips do get you a lot of experience, but then what is it compared to domestic matches? How is the quality of opposition?
It's not about if you go to see the main aspect when you talk about exposure that would develop a player or take the player to the next level is that you need to get that player or that group of players out of their comfort zone. So if you say exposure trips, going abroad and winning every match 10-0 and coming back may not be the ideal exposure. Playing against a team that gets you out of your comfort zone, pushes you to the limit, would be a much better exposure. So when we were with the under-19 squad out here, or even the World Cup boys, we always played against senior teams. We always played against teams that are, for example, the under-17 World Cup team played the developmental squad of Bengaluru, which were, not seasoned professionals, but they were one step below. These kind of games can get you out of your comfort zone and get you to that next level. As far as exposure trips are concerned, sometimes it's not just the football, the weather abroad, the travel, the food, training on better surfaces, exposure to better equipment, exposure to better environments. These are the kind of aspects that can also help you develop as a player, and these boys have benefited from that, traveling almost to every continent in the world. They've been exposed to so many different cultures, so many different styles of play, different weather conditions, different surfaces, that these guys have now matured in such a way they know exactly how to deal with different kind of situations. The only problem with
Coach,
this,
Coach, you're gonna probably face Mumbai City FC in the Super Cup qualifiers.
Yeah.
So is that also part of that same process? Exposing yourself to a foreigner-heavy squad with a lot of experience.
Definitely. In fact, now there's no need to motivate these boys, because if the fact that we are going to play an ISL team itself, these boys are going to be charged up. We were all just a small fact. We were all hoping it would be Kerala Blasters. Playing Kerala Blasters in Kochi with Rahul in our team would be the ideal Super Cup match for us. But playing Mumbai City FC is going to be a tough challenge, because if Coach Alex Guimaraes is a very tactically astute coach, and I think these guys are going to be. It's going to be a real tough battle against us. That's one thing for sure, is that these boys are not going to make it easy for Mumbai City FC to run through us.
Yeah. Just before we take in your thoughts on the first semi-final that is coming along for the ISL, just want to know about what is the best part about working with teenagers, with boys 16 to 19 years old. What has been your best moment, and what is that one challenge that you've always faced?
The challenge is that the best part is these boys are open to whatever you say as a coach. Like I said,
they're easier to mold.
It's much easier to mold. The only thing is you should know how to simplify it and tell it to these boys. These boys are so coachable at this point of time. It's unbelievable. Every match, a different tactic, a different shape, a different formation. These boys are ready for it. Technically, tactically, mentally, physically, they're ready. So it's so ideal for a coach to work with this set of boys that you can do basically whatever you want out of them. And you as a coach, if anything goes wrong, you can say, okay, I'm at fault. These boys have given me 200%. That's never been a problem with these boys. The aspect is the aspect of a challenge. The challenging part would be that these boys are prone to making schoolboy errors. The one thing that I've noticed, maybe for a youth player from abroad and a youth player from India, is that the concentration levels or the level of professionalism, the level of seriousness is not there for a prolonged period of time. It drops a little bit. So if these boys can maintain that, and there are some of the boys in this squad, and I could take names, for example, someone like Amarjeet, he is so focused, he is so determined, and he always wants to improve. At any point of time, you put him in any ISL team or any I-League team right now, he'll fit in straight away with professional players. And we need more players to follow in that direction. Another example would be Anirudh Thapa, Jerry Lalinswala. These kind of players, we need those kind of players who can give you that same level of performance week in, week out, without being satisfied with their previous performance. They should always have that hunger. So that is a small aspect which we can, a challenge that you face regularly, kind of trying to tell them, this is not it. Let's step up a little bit more next time around.
Right. So ISL playoff, Bengaluru plays FC Pune City. Your thoughts?
Bengaluru, I feel, Bengaluru have not got out of first gear. They're just still playing the way they want to play. It's scary, what these guys can do if they just step up a bit. But I feel Pune City FC are a very fit bunch. The coach is a very tactically astute coach. So I think it's going to be how Bengaluru can break through the Pune defense, and can Pune counter and get some goals against this Bengaluru outfit, which I think very few teams have managed. If you're asking me for a result from Bengaluru and Pune, then I think Bengaluru is the favourite to go through.
All right. Chiranjeev, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, what I say about the playoffs, I think it's nothing but a cash grab. If you want to be taken seriously as a league, just have the league. What's the point of having semi-finals and finals? Bengaluru FC lead the second place team by 8 points.
8 points.
I mean, to me, they're the champions. To me, like Chennai FC won the first season of ISL, and Mumbai City won the 2016 season as well. So yeah, it doesn't make sense for that it's even happening, because you already have a knockout tournament in the Super Cup. So what's the semi-finals and finals? Anyway, so of course, the second match between Bengaluru and is a bit interesting case study here, because Pune City were getting their act right. They started slow, and they held Bengaluru to a draw at Kantirava, which is not an easy feat. And it seemed like that after just getting that goal early on, which came through Sarthak Guli, by the way, and it seemed like they were holding on. And the coach sort of wanted to push through with a 1-0 win. Okay, and this is the mentality that sort of got them, because BFC doesn't slow down. They just keep attacking till the 90th minute at all times, kind of what Indian Arrows do, and regardless of what the score line is. So if the coach of Pune City tries that again, it's not going to go well. It's going to end up being something like the match that happened at Balewadi between these two teams. This match is at Balewadi, though, I think. So yeah, it's gonna end up becoming like that. So something like that you can try only once against Bengaluru FC. That kind of waiting game. If you get lucky early on and you take the lead. I think it has to be. If I
can get in, one thing that I've observed in Pune FC with Coach Popovic, I think his pressing has been really good to a certain extent in the earlier part. And I would hope to see that if he can implement that pressing style against Bengaluru, I think it would make for a good game to watch. And I feel that if he can keep that pressing to a certain level, they could get something out of that game. But sitting back, as you said, I think we can hope that they can shut out Bengaluru, but over 2 legs, I don't think that strategy would hold in good stead.
Yeah. All right. On that note, we bring this extensive show to its closure. It's been great learning from Coach Floyd Pinto, and Chiranjit and me are honored to be part of the same show as you. We hope to see you in the future. Once again, if you've got more topics, obviously more youth topics, and that interests me a lot. And on that note, I would like to thank Floyd Pinto, Coach Floyd Pinto again for being there with us.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Chiranjit and TFG for this. Anytime you need to talk about football, I'm always ready. So anything for football, as I say.
That's great to hear, Coach. Yeah. I'm really thankful that we got to take part in this conversation. And for the listeners, the next episode of TFG Tackles will come out on the 9th of March. We will do a roundup of the I-League title race. So stay tuned for that.
All right, so that's a wrap from our end. As you know, we will no longer do a daily show. We'll be heading into a weekly format for the audio podcast. Do tune in. TFG Podcast is available on IVM, on the Android and iOS version. Do give it a try. There are a lot of awesome shows that are available on this app. And TFG Football is the Twitter handle that you need to follow for all the Indian football action. And Coach Floyd Pinto is also available on Twitter. Do give him a follow and do watch his activities. Liverpool fan and Arrow's assistant coach. Excellent to know from him. Chiranjit Oja is also available on Twitter. As Siju Matthew, who's not available with us, but she will be back soon. I'm also there if you would like to talk to us. The YouTube channel is where you want to send your comments, whatever you felt about the show. It was a great learning for us. If you've learned something from the show, do let us know. Show your love. Like, share, subscribe on the YouTube channel, and be tuned in for TFG Tackles as well. Have a great day, folks. A great Monday morning for us to start off with. Hope you have a great week ahead. See you in another episode. Bye. Take care.
There she stands, a podcast addict. Outside the bank, having travelled several miles to get in with other poor souls like her. The journey, though daunting for this youngling, will have some comfort because she has downloaded her favourite podcast. You can see more of her species on ivmpodcasts.com, your one-stop destination where you can check out the coolest Indian podcasts. Happy listening.